Yeah, so greetings, comrades, once again. Thank you for your attendance today, and welcome to Consciousness Study Group, which is actually a philosophical and ideological class. Consciousness is a philosophy and ideology by Osei for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah for the purpose of Pan-African liberation and unification of Africa. So today we've been doing this. We've been studying Consciousness book and reading this book written by Kwame Nkrumah to us. And it's been quite insightful, educative, and interesting. But rather, maybe I'll have to ask any of the members who is present to tell us how far do they feel the studies are, whether it's important, whether it's more informative, and what do they recommend to members? Because there are members who will be listening to this recording, and probably it's very important to hear from also some of the members who are part of this study to tell them how they've been finding this since all along the journey. So thank you, and greetings to Sister Ida, Sister Brother Sam, Ras, Pala, and Sister Tapua. So let's start today. But Sister Tapua, probably it's just for the purpose of also those of us who are here. How have you been finding this study? I know you joined us along the reading. How could you tell about it?
I found it really helpful because I struggle to read text like this. So getting to discuss with others and sharing ideas in the process has been very insightful for me. So I would recommend anybody to join a class, because then you're taken paragraph by paragraph and you get to share ideas, which is really important. So I most appreciate the contributions that people are making in the group, and then the variety of thoughts and ideas, the thinking, really important. And especially when we're looking at how to apply this to the unification of Africa and the things that we can do. So absolutely an essential for me. That's why I try not to miss a Thursday.
Thank you very much. Sister Ida is one of the oldest sisters in the room. Sister Ida, greetings.
Greetings. Hello, everybody. Hi. Glad to see those who have made it, who are on at the moment, and I hope other people will be joining, because, like Sister Tapar says, the ideas that come out, and you just think, really, how did I miss that one? But how I love what somebody said, so it's really good. So,
yeah, Sister. In fact, you've been reading this now for the second round, but you still find it still interesting.
Well, I haven't been. I came at the end of. I think people say it was like 10 years of reading, and so I came at the end of that, which was interesting in itself. And when there was a lot of thing, oh, shall we restart this? Shall we restart the book? There was a lot of toing and froing, but it's been restarted, and it's been interesting because it's a first for me. It's not this bit's a first for me, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, yes. Brother Raspala, how have you been finding this all along?
Yes, General. Yeah. No, my Lord. There's no complaints, my Lord. There's a lot I've learned. Especially concerning consciences. And I've learned more about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. And more especially to meet my fellow Africans from different continents and in the diaspora. That is the most interesting thing for me. And to know that there are other Black people who are actually thinking about Pan-Africanism, who I meet with every Thursday and Saturday. That's the most interesting part for me. Thank you.
Thank you. No, Elder Sam joined us a bit recently, but he has been consistent enough also in attending, which makes me feel that this is really worth journey for him. But as an elder who has gone through the struggle with Pan-African as Congress of Azania, you've been in the struggle all along. How have you been finding these writings by Kwame Nkrumah based on the struggles that you've been pushing, Elder Sam?
Yeah, thanks, brothers. I think, Brother Pigeon, for me, it is, learning is every day, and there's no one of us who can claim I have learned it all. No, every day, even the man with 9 master's degrees will still learn, and if that attitude is that, we will always be learning and getting forward. Unless the day we come to a position where we say, I am now saturated, I can't learn anymore, then that's where everything goes bad. So, having been in a revolution, this is still a revelation. We always talked about Kwame Nkrumah, Pan-Africanism, but to find out that things that they wrote years back can still be instruments of educating ourselves. I think that for me is a plus. And as Sister Tapua said, we get many perspectives. You know, the uneven development that all of us are exposed to in life, it is very important to hear another perspective, because to have one line that says this is this or this is not that is not correct. It's many perspectives that can consolidate into one. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, welcome, Sister Myra. I've actually been taking just time to, as we start to know more about how members have been finding this reading so far. We've taken 1 year since we started the second class. We are in page 38, which almost we've done close to a quarter of what we're supposed to do, but in 1 year time. That tells you how much we take our time to critically and deeply understand and share our thinking in regards to this book. In fact, I've shared the book in the chat. We're in page 38, so you can have your copy, or in case anything happens when in case I drop out between stable network, you can just open the book and share it. Or I've met some of you coast. But Sister Myra, in your struggles or in your Pan-African journey and how you've been pushing forward, how have you been finding this concept of Kwame Nkrumah and this book, Consciousness? Has it been helpful to you, Sister Myra? Greetings, sister.
Yeah, it's been helpful. I feel at the beginning it was all very, very new and it seemed very complicated. And now that we're in chapter 2, there are still some sections or paragraphs that they seem to be over my head, but at the same time, I think I've kind of learned one thing I've learned is to philosophize. Like I find myself questioning every time I see a situation in Africa, for example, I try to put it into this context here that we're learning about. So I feel like maybe it's still difficult. It's not the easiest book to read, but because I've tried to be consistent, it's really informed my thinking and the way I look at issues and the way I look at matters. So for me, I can say it has contributed to how I think and how I see the world and worldview, but it's something that I feel I need to work at it. And if I fell out for like if I fell out for some reason and then I came back in chapter 3, I would struggle. But being consistent helps. And for me, I feel it has helped my thinking. But it's still not an easy book. So being consistent has helped me, if you know what I mean. It's kind of just, it's a book that gives, if you keep trying, it also gives. But yeah.
Have we lost you, Brother Pigeon? Hello? Can the rest of you hear us? Each of us?
I can hear you.
Oh, good.
I can hear you.
Brother Pigeon, are you there? Oh, well, at least we still got the book on the screen, because if he really goes, we're in trouble. Oh, no.
You spoke too soon.
And I spoke too soon, and now we haven't got the book. He'll be back in a minute with luck. But Sister Myra, I like what you said about having the that using it to check what's going on in Africa or the rest of the world, because I find that I never quite know. I look at things, especially now in Britain. There's a lot going on. Like there's a lot of distress. Distress. There's a lot of disharmony, and I find that instead of just jumping to conclusions or listening to those who want to further the distress, I step back a minute and I think, oh, let me really think about what I see here, because I don't necessarily agree with some of the things people are saying, you know. And then you find that, oh, look at that. It was, I mean, some of the things that have been posted are posted from things that happened years ago, and people are trying to spread disruption even more. So I don't know. Do you have any views on things that you're seeing around the place? I'll start with Sister Myra. Maybe you can start, and then we'll ask the rest as well till Brother Pigeon comes in.
I'll just comment on what you said, that you now take time to think. I'm the same. I now take time to think, because I remember Brother Kwame said that in any system, in any society, in any situation, there's always philosophies. So you can always philosophize. So I've learned how to take time and sit back and really just think about what forces are acting, what are the opposing forces, what do they want, what's their goal, who's behind it, you know? So that's one thing that I could, agree with. I'm the same. It's taught me to just kind of really analyze, become more analytical of any situation, depending wherever it is, here in Britain, as things are now, or in Africa. I tend to think more. I critically look at any situation.
Yeah, sorry, carry on, Sister Tabar.
Okay. I totally agree with you, Sister Maya, because you know how Brother Kwame consistently says, don't just post anything. What are you thinking about it? It's made me think of the things that I see. For example, when I saw the advert put out by the Germans and the Kenyan government to try and get the youths out, if you are an innocent youth who's not perspective, you could just think, oh, the Germans are really kind. This is an opportunity. But if you have depth of thought, you then realize that they're trying to break people up, divide and conquer, and get the troublesome people out, where they're going to be cooled down by the cold weather. So it's really helpful, really, really helpful, because you start being analytical.
I see Brother Pigeon came in for a minute and has gone again, but let's ask. Oh, maybe he's back again. Let me have a look. He's back again. Wonderful. But let's just ask Brother Sam maybe to say a word while Brother Pigeon stabilizes. Do you have anything that you feel the book has helped you with in recent times, Brother Sam?
Yes, ma'am. I've already said my say, but I was reflecting about this to say it is what people say, theory and practice. I think this is the important thing that I am finding now, that a lot of these things theoretically we see them as complicated, but it's only when you apply it to your reality, that's when you start to get a better understanding. And most of the time, we shy away, or we run away from terminology. And once you find the meaning of the word, basically, you find that this is in simple language, this, and therefore you are able to understand completely what is happening. So for me, this is part of my growing up and part of learning that I'm doing currently. Thanks.
Thank you. Brother Pigeon, are you here? But there's one person who hasn't come back, which is the general. But maybe Brother Pigeon, are you about?
Okay. Yes, Sister Ida, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. Well, there's only the general who maybe might have a comment to make, but I'm handing it back to you after him if he has anything.
You had made a comment already.
Before, yes, but we've all made second comments, so
Oh.
but otherwise I'm handing it back to you.
Okay, so as I'd shared this book on the chat so that in case I drop off, you can easily share it and we do the reading, because I'm experiencing more of unstable network. This now
Well,
make
let
it
me
very
ask
hard.
anybody else who's got the book, because I haven't got it on my phone. Do
I've
any
shared
of
it
the
in,
others? Sister Myra, do you have the book that you could maybe, if Brother Pigeon goes off, share it?
I'm on my phone. I'm using my phone.
Yeah, we're all on our phones, Brother Pigeon.
No, I don't have.
Okay,
but I don't have a soft copy.
Yeah. No.
Okay,
A
Brother
copy
Kwame will be joining now.
Oh, good.
I've
If
just
he's
shared a copy
joining,
of this
that's
book
good.
right now in this.
Yes, I saw.
Yeah, I've shared the copy of this book in this Zoom chat section. But I've talked to him, he'll be joining because my internet might not assure me to be in based on the power, on and off power. So sorry for that. I'll be here also for a quite bit of time. In case I drop off, I think it's very important we start the reading, then we can be sharing our thinking all along, even if maybe I might be off before you reshare the book. So I'll start by reading what was there in the last class. Then I'll request Sister Mara to read for us now the highlighted text, only the first paragraph of the highlighted text for today. But in the first class, let me read the paragraph above, which is, the preceding early Greek philosophers were so bent on destroying the foundation of priestly aristocratic power that they paid little attention to social growth. They were so wrapped in their purpose that they also jibbed at the immortality of the soul. Socrates being the first Greek philosophers to make the immortality of the soul a tenet of philosophy, as distinct from a belief of religion. According to Heraclitus, too, all things are one, but fire, the fundamental thing, suffers transformation into other things. There is a permanent potential of instability in everything, and it is this instability which makes transformation possible. This was the key highlight of that class last time, which I shared around people to share their thinking, that there's a permanent potential of instability in everything. And it is this instability which makes transformations possible. Objects are only deceptively serene. They are all delicate balances of opposing forces. This opposition of forces is conceived by Heraclitus to be so fundamental that without it, everything will pass away. An object is attunement of opposite tensions, and without a tension, there could be no object. So that was our last class reading. Let me scroll it up a bit for sister to be able to read the first highlighted paragraph so that we can start sharing our thinking.
Social laws 2, conceived by Heraclitus after the same manner. He conceives them as an attunement of tensions, the resultant of opposing tendencies. Without the opposing tendencies, there could be no laws. It can be seen that Heraclitus conceived society as a dynamism in which, out of the strife of opposites, there emerges an attunement. Heraclitus makes this strife of opposites indispensable to growth and creation, both innately. And growth or creation is nothing but that attunement or balance which emerges from a strife of opposites. In social terms, this means that society is permanently in revolution, and that revolution is indispensable to social growth and progress. Evolution by revolution is the Heraclitean touchstone of progress.
Thank you. Thank you for that, sister. Welcome, Brother Kwame. Yes, so I will try to reread the paragraph slowly, and then I'll welcome Brother Kwame to help now chair the session moving forward, just due to the instability I've shared. So let me read the session, the paragraph again slowly, as all of us. Yes, Brother Kwame.
Can I suggest we just carry on with sharing our views? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. So brothers and sisters, we have heard the reading. Sorry, I missed the reading where it started from. Is it, Samara, where did you start from?
From social laws.
Social laws up to touchstone of progress. Is that correct?
Touchstone of progress, yes. Yes.
Okay. Right. Shall we share our views, please? So let's start with Sister Tapua. Thank you.
Ooh. All right. I wasn't expecting it. Can I pass for now, please?
Why?
Because I'm just trying to gather my thoughts.
Of course you can pass.
Thank you.
Brother Pigeon, share your thoughts, please.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying still to grasp I'm going sentence by sentence, but
okay.
I can do that.
Okay, no, it's fine. In that case, Sister Mara, can you reread for us again, but more slowly? It looks like we're all trying to gather our thoughts. Thank you. Sister Mara?
Okay. So this paragraph for me is a continuation from the last bit of
but before
last
that, can you read it again?
Yes.
Just read it again for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. Social laws, too, are conceived by Heraclitus after the same manner. He conceives them.
Can you slow down
as
a bit?
An attunement.
Slow down. Slow down a bit.
Social laws. Social laws, too, are conceived by Heraclitus after the same manner. He conceives them as an attunement of tension, the resultant of opposing tendencies. Without the opposing tendencies, there could be no laws. It can be seen that Heraclitus conceived society as a dynamism in which, out of the strife of opposites, there emerges an attunement. Heraclitus makes this strife of opposites indispensable to growth and creation, both in nature and in society. And growth or creation is nothing but that attunement or balance which emerges from a strife of opposites. In social terms, this means that society is permanently in revolution, and that revolution is indispensable to social growth and progress. Evolution by revolution is the Heraclitean touchstone of progress.
Thank you very much for that wonderful and slow down reading, because what it enables us to do is to, as you are reading, as anybody else is reading, generally, we are able to frame our thoughts as the reading evolves. So thank you very much for such a wonderful reading. Are there any words that we would like to look into first before we share our thinking? So whilst you're looking at the words, let's remember why we, the conceives study group, have dedicated ourselves to meeting every Thursday without fail, which we've been doing for years, both online and offline. The reason is that we love Africa. And the reason is that we want Africa to be liberated, to be united, and want Africa to develop for the benefit primarily of, for, and by Africans. And because of this love for Africa, that is why amongst ourselves here, we put funds together in order to buy our own access to Zoom so that we can meet like we are doing and share our thinking on these pages with the entire world. So it is because of our love for Africa. And it's also because we believe that in order for Africa to be transformed in all the three ways we've mentioned, liberation, unification, and development, it doesn't just require any perspective. There are perspectives that enslave us, and there are perspectives that liberate us. There are perspectives that unite us, and there are perspectives that disunite us. And there are perspectives that will never develop Africa, and there are perspectives that will develop Africa. So we are under no illusion that those latter perspectives are the liberal, conservative perspectives that do not want Africa to be liberated. They don't want Africa to be united. They don't want Africa to develop. for the benefit of the African people. They are like grown men and women who sit on the back of a woman trying to suck breasts, even though the woman has children, babies around her who need her breast milk. These people are wicked, and so on and so forth. And that is why we meet here every Thursday without fail. So let's remind ourselves in terms of the holy work that we are doing, because it is holy. So thank you very much for continuing to come to class and for continuing to share your thinking, for continuing to participate in our thinking, because thinking is not easy. Thinking is hard work. In my language, we call it farming. To think in my language is to farm. Farming is not easy. It's not easy. So thank you. As we continue to share, not only the reading, but also our thoughts. So, Sister Myra has read for us from social laws to touchstone of progress. Yeah, any words that we would like to look into before we start sharing our things? Sister Ida has her hand up.
Yes, I'd like us to look into the word attunement. Attunement, because it's mentioned 3 times.
Yes,
in the passage.
So
I think it must be an important word.
Yeah,
but
it is. So
it's
attunement. Yeah, no. So attunement. You notice another word is balance. Yeah, attunement. So if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the seventh line. Yeah. In that paragraph, you see that it says attunement or balance. So another word for attunement, Sister Ida, is balance. So a good way to understand it is to use the piano, which Dr. Agre of Ghana, you remember, which he used very, very well. And the model is that if you take the piano, if you only play the black keys of a piano, you can never get a balanced music. Similarly, if you only play the white keys, you can never get balanced music. To get an attunement, in other words, to get a tune that is melodious and lifts up the soul and the spirit and so on and so forth, you need a tune. You need the black and white keys to be tuned up to provide that melodious tune. And then you find that your body even begins to move in rhythm with the music. Because then in our language, we say that you have heard it. When you hear something, it means you're attuned to its voice. And its voice are the vibrations, the fundamental vibrations of anything are its voice. So in our language, when we say you understand something, the English say you understand, which means you are standing under it. In our language, we say, in the Ghana, it's either your language, you will say, onushishin. Onushishin means you have heard it in its foundation. Onushishin. My language, we say, Masa Agoma. The Akan say, Mati Asye. Brother Pigeon, what will you say in Swahili? I understand. And what does it literally mean? What is the word?
To us, it's Iwinjo.
And literally, what does it mean?
It's Iwinjo. But it means you've heard it. Not even you have understood it.
Aha, you've heard it. Aha. So, Sister Ida, is it getting clearer now?
Thank you. Yes.
So attunement is you hear it. When you hear it, what's the word again, Brother Pigeon?
Yes, it's called Iwinjo, which is you've heard it. Iwinjo. Iwinjo.
The word Jo means dance in Ga. In Winjo, it means you've heard it and you are dancing. Oh no, it's interesting. Our languages are so linked. Sister Ida, am I lying? Isn't Joe mean dance in the Ghana language?
You're telling me. Thank you.
Obajo means you will dance in Winjo. That's interesting. Anyway, so that is what attunement means, or balance. Yeah, we can also have scientific examples. Brother Carrington is not here, but a scientific example is to say that the atom is an attuned particle. The atom of anything is a balanced thing in the sense that the protons and the neutrons are balanced. That is why it is stable. Once they become unstable, once one is bigger than the other, then the item becomes unstable. So yeah, so that is attunement or balance. Attunement or balance. So it could mean, if you want to pursue that, awinjo means that in order for something to grow, it must give out a tune, and that tune must lead to action, and that action is that which responds to that vibration, and then there is motion and action, and then the thing is changed. Like if you put water on fire and the heat, the fire makes the atoms move faster and faster and faster, and as they move faster, it begins to get hot, it begins to boil, and as more fire is under the water, it moves faster and faster and faster and faster and faster until it flies out of the pan or out of the saucer or out of the bucket or whatever. At that point, it becomes steam. And then you can use this to move a train. You can use it to move a ship. You can use it to boil alcohol. That is what the drink akpeteshi is. So and so. Yeah, I hope that is helpful. Yeah, but PG did tell me that he keeps losing his page. So I'm going to share the page whilst we wait for him. Yeah, to rejoin us. Yeah. So here is the, well, I don't know if you can see my page. Yeah, I'm happy to share. I'm going to highlight the the page that we're reading. Can you all see that? Okay. Should I make it smaller?
No, it's okay? Fine.
No, we can see it fine. Thank you.
It's
okay.
fine.
Excellent. So yeah. So Brother Peter, just keep down the page. Yeah, in case you get locked out again, but you stay the host. Yeah. Thank you. Right. So that is it. So any other words? Thank you. Any other words that we would like to understand? Okay, so there's no other word. Okay, excellent. Let's remember that dynamism is also to do with power, is to do with motion, is to do with attunement or balance. Yeah, that's all also to do with that. Okay, all right. Now, are we in a position to share our thinking? Are we?
Yes.
Do we have enough now? All right, Sister Tafua, you want to shoot off for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
I've been struck by, I think I'm starting from the second sentence. He conceives them as an attunement of tensions. Yes. Tension is when you have one force pulling against another, pulling away from another. But when you're talking of attunement of tensions, it means at some point, there's two things that might look like pulling apart, have to come together to create the laws. In other words, you cannot have a law unless you have an opposite of it. So you cannot have a society in which everyone agrees. There's difference of opinion and perception, but at some point there should be some attunement. It's almost like a constant dance in which one person moves one way and the other, in trying to move the other way, for the dance to be meaningful, there's got to be some kind of agreement. I then looked at, one of the first things that struck me is, you know how parliaments are organized with political parties, the main political parties, the opposition, and so on. And I'm thinking, in an African context, I come from a country where there's been tendency to want to be a one-party state, but it's not possible according to what we have here, because there will always be need for any object to exist, to have opposites that to some extent want to have the same goal, but there are differences in which they want to achieve it. So I'm looking at the Pan-African idea of uniting Africa. And what we're learning from this is we will have differences, but in those differences, it's important to have those differences because then they bring us together to form a tune. In other words, we know where we want to go. All the perspectives that we have of Pan-Africanism are helping us to maintain a position so that as we go towards a united Africa, there has to be voices that are different, that see things differently. And in that way, we're able to get the direction of where we want to go. Because if you don't have any contrary idea, then you're never certain of where you're going. But if you get people contributing contrary ideas, then you're certain you either like something or you don't like something. So this is what I'm getting from this passage, that evolution by revolution is the Heraclitean touchstone of progress. In other words, in order for society to move on, in order for society to change for the better, there's got to be change. In other words, the most common thing that we have is change. It will always be there. We will never be able to say we've arrived and settle at the united Africa. There will always be ups and downs about the things that we want to do and so on as we make progress. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. So question for you, Sister Tawa. So if the argument is that, from what you said, that change is constant, doesn't that then deny that there is change? If change will not change itself, then you are saying that there is a permanent state of things that itself will never change. What do you say to that?
Totally agree, because we're talking about growth here. Growth is progress. So in order for progress to take place, there's got to be a permanent state of changing. Otherwise, you're done. I think that's the idea that was expressed in the last paragraph, that unless there is change and unless there is tension, the object will not exist. It will die. So for society to progress, change has to be permanent. But change is not something that we easily take to as human beings, because we like to settle at some point to take a breather, as it were, before we move on to the next.
So is that change that you are referring to, is it an idealist principle or a materialist principle? What is its source? That's my question. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from within the thing itself, or is it from outside the thing itself?
I think it's coming from within the thing, because if there is no tension, then the thing doesn't exist.
Why can it not come from outside? Like a clash of civilizations.
It could come from
outside.
Sorry.
Go on.
I think it depends on what we mean by outside.
Yes.
Because
give it whatever meaning you like and share your thinking with us.
Yes. Because I think I remember you saying we're all human beings. This thing about being African and us focusing on the concept of African as separate from the human race does not work. But at some point within the group of Africans, we're trying to form a unit, but we are still part of the greater picture. So if we're going to consider the greater picture of humanity, then humanity is one. But within those, you have sections that are also one. And it is through those sections, those tensions that exist within the subsections that make us one.
I hope you're not suggesting we have a species of human beings. But yeah, so we have a family of families, basically.
Yes.
Okay. And each unit of family each family can be a unit on its own. In that sense, if they clash, it is still within the human family.
Yes.
And therefore it is within. Thank you very much. Let's now go Thank you. Let's now go to Brother Pigeon. Brother Pigeon. So Satapua is telling you that the Gen Z phenomenon is to be expected. In fact, expect more such clashes, because that is how Kenya will advance. If that is the case, why is it not happening in Ghana, in Congo, in Gambia, and so on? Are the conditions right for them? Or is it what happened in Mali and Niger and Burkina Faso in a different form? In that form, it is the young people, but they were in the armed forces. Yeah, in Kenya, is a young people, but they didn't have guns. So those who had the guns, same young people, but in Burkina Faso, in Mali and Niger, because they had the guns, nobody could shoot them because they had the guns. Whereas in Kenya, they forgot to rope in the young men with guns, who then came and shot some of them. So, Brother Pigeon, you don't have to respond to the social application of what Sister Tapua has shared with us. You can go straight to the text itself and share your thinking first.
Thank you. Thank you. In the peak of my chest full of tear gas lobbies makes me find it difficult a bit, but it's not dangerous than the tear gas. But I'm okay.
Are you tear gas today?
I got over 6 tear gas all over in the city.
No.
So summer was in the midst of the dust.
At least you're alive. We are with you, brother. We are with you. We are with you. Yeah.
I was in the midst of Yeah. So the surprising thing that I have to start from is that if there will always be tensions, so does it mean that then we'll never have a permanent solution? But that's the startup. So as I move to this, is that that an attunement to me, as I've had it, is that being in harmony. But those two are conceived as is the man in the second line of the sentence, but also the manner up there where he said in the previous paragraph that an object is an attunement of opposite tensions, and without the tensions, there could be no object. So this takes me back to where we are. For example, here we're discussing about Africa. So can Africa be an attunement of Africa's to be object in this case? Then what would be these opposite tensions? This is what I ask myself. And
answer to that question.
Yeah, if possible, please. It will help me.
You know the answer. The current attunement of Africa is that
understand better as I'm moving on.
The liberal and conservative forces have the ascendancy. That is a current attunement in which we are. And so in Kenya, that attunement was not liked by the youth. So they intervened in order to bring about a different tune.
What did you say the attunement is? The tension is?
So the liberal and conservative forces led by Ruto dominating the progressive forces. That was the attunement.
Okay.
And so they thought they could pass a law in terms of a finance act or finance bill, and that tipped the balance against the progressives, who then reacted in terms of the youth in order to bring a new attunement. So they are saying, give us this, we want that, we want you to do this, we want you to do that. In the context of what we are reading, what Sister Pua has shared, it's saying that there is now a strife of opposites in order to bring in a new balance in Kenyan society.
Okay, thank you. You've reminded me back to what you read before on the aspects of revolution. I think Thales said that the revolution has two aspects, which means a revolution against the old and the competition or the contest for the new. And basically, I can line it here now. That, of course, if I refer it back to that previous chapter, is that there's a tendency which want to maintain the old system, and there's now groupings or the opposite side that want to maintain or that are contesting for a new system. So in this case, then there's a competition between the old system and the new system. But all these are aspects of revolution, because the people want to maintain the status quo, and for them to maintain it, they also revolt in their own way to maintain the old. But there's a people here who are also want to fight the new and come up with a new system. But then it says that without opposing tendencies, there could be no laws. So this takes me back to the origin of laws. I think when I read something, I think it's Plato who wrote The Republican, and why people should come up with what you call the laws at the original stages to guide a society, just actually to check on the balances of interest, so that if there's no law, everybody will do what they want. And that's why the Constitution says that sometimes that you are right, your rights are limited as long as they don't infringe on other person's right. So if law then is brought in to create attunement, I then ask myself, are the laws in this country or Africa today really create that harmony in a society? And the true answer is that basically it doesn't create that harmony. Because if you look at the laws that are run today in more of African countries and wherever, it only gives and widen the gap between the poor and the rich, or gives advantage over the community that is majority vis-a-vis the community that is minority, or it gives also right to those who either have a lot of education or those who call themselves educated at the expense of those who are called having less education. And all these are part of the laws that we create. So basically, I don't think that the laws we have today are actually there to help level these opposing tensions that then can create to us that achievement. I don't think that is what we have today. But somebody will have to share their thinking in regards to that. But then let me move forward. It says that it can be seen that was conceived that society as a dynamism. And I think we've come across dialectics, which we are calling the either dynamism in a society, dialectics or the opposing forces, both the negative and the positive forces. But they say that in which out of the strife of opposites there emerge or attunement, which is to me an attunement here then in regards to dynamism should be an equilibrium, the balance in a society. So we could arrive at that attunement. We could arrive at a balance, actually brought into some balance or interest. Well, I don't know if that is really what's going on in the society today or in African setup. Then let me see when Heraclitus makes this strife of opposites indispensable to growth and creation, both in nature and society. So if this balance cannot be achieved, to my own understanding, there cannot be growth. Then that asks me or take me back again when they say that without instability, there can not be transformation. But here again comes where if the balances then are not achieved in one way or the other, there cannot be growth. So what could be growth? Is it instability or is it an attunement, the balance of forces? Because of course, instability, when I read it,
what does the text tell you?
Here it says the balance of forces is what creates growth. That's what the text is telling me, is what creates growth, the balance of forces. The opposite.
Is that what the text is saying?
I don't think so.
What is the text saying as you understand it?
Right. The text is saying, one, we don't have a permanent state. We don't have a situation where everything is in balance permanently. Things are always changing. So the tune is either going one way or the other. Because I'm looking at it as, you know, the extreme left and the extreme right in political sense. And there's always the tendency to want to be in the middle. And it's being in the middle that helps create balance. Because when you're in the middle, you're taking cognizance of what's happening on the left and what's happening on the right. If anyone moves too far to the left, it's almost like society self-corrects and always wants to occupy the center ground, because it's in the center ground that you have growth. So we have growth because you have got the left, and we have growth because you have the right. And it's between the pull between those two that results in growth.
Okay, excellent. Brother Pigeon, back to you. Sister Tapua has contributed to your question.
So basically, there can never be permanent growth in a society because there can never be permanent balance.
No. Don't confuse growth and balance.
But here it says that and growth or creation is nothing but an attunement or balance.
Yes, but yes. It's like saying
it says
there's a difference between economic growth and economic development. Yeah? There's a difference between growth and development. Yes, go on, Sister Tapua.
Okay, because I think we need to read that sentence to the end, because it says all balance which emerges from a strife of opposites. In other words, growth or creation comes out of strife.
Out of strife. That's correct.
Yes.
Brother Pigeon, does that help?
Okay. Now it answers my question. Then that strife is appear to be instability as what we. But let me end my thinking by the last line, which says that in social terms, this means that society is permanently in revolution, and the revolution is indispensable to the social growth and progress. That's the way I love most. So then that clearly says that if the purpose of revolution is in two ways, either the revolution against the old and the contest for the new, then basically also in line with these opposite sides and the strive to achieve that balance, it means that we would forever be in revolution. And then the revolution is the only thing that will keep check on the excesses so that one side does not overcome or subdue the other side, so that we always keep the balance and try to maintain the balance. The revolution has to be permanently there. That's what I read from my thinking. So thank you very much for that.
Now, thank you. And Pigeon, notice that this throws up a lot of issues, and as we hear from others, we'll touch on them. It throws up a lot of issues. For instance, just because you elect a government doesn't mean you should go to sleep. You have to keep an eye on them, make sure they are accounting for the power you have given them as your representatives. You can't just go to sleep and think that they will fight in your interests. They may start by fighting in your interests. It doesn't follow that they permanently will, according to what we are reading. So it throws up a lot of issues. So let's hear from others. So we've heard from Sister Tapua, we've heard from Brother Pigeon. Now let's hear from a lady. As you can see, I go man, woman, woman, man, whichever direction, yeah? Because we are always, even here, we are striving for balance. By the way, thanks to GSC UK, that's why I let it. not in terms of the principle, but in terms of how to make it real in social organizations. GCM UK is where I learned it. Brother Glenroy, you are here. Brother Glenroy. So, right. So, Sister Ida.
Yes, greetings. I was here and quietly listening.
Thank you, Brother Glenroy. Yes, Sister Ida, your thoughts on the paragraph.
I have lots of thoughts, but I feel I should almost let another sister speak instead of me.
Why?
But if you insist that, because I just feel that that they have a lot. It's been very interesting what I've heard so far.
Yeah.
And I do have lots of thoughts about it.
It's okay. Share as many as you can.
No, I'd like you to share with another sister first. I will come in because I'm building up.
Okay,
My esteem is building up.
That's fine. Let's hear from Sister Shireen then. If not, we'll go to Sister Myra. Sister Myra, remember, read for us. So I like to leave those who read some time to also think through what they've read. Yes, Sister Shireen, it's a pleasure to see you as always. I can't hear you, Sister Shireen. Are you able to talk where you are?
Just getting in from work and I've got bags, so I've been listening.
Okay.
But I need to literally just decant and then come back to me, please.
All right, no worries. Sister
Okay,
Myra.
then I'm happy to come in if Sister Myra doesn't want to come in. I'll let Sister Myra decide if she wants to go before me or after.
Sister Myra, let Sister Myra go before you, so you continue to build your thoughts up. Sister Myra.
Yes.
Yes, share your thinking, please.
I was saying, Sister Ida, please go ahead.
No, she wants you to go first.
No, it's fine. I'll go first. First.
All right.
I love the question that you asked Sister Tapua at the beginning, which is, does change come from without or within? And to me, it changed my idea of what I was reading in this sentence, because I see that there's been so much change all around the world. And I would say that change comes from within, even though there's always this slight balance and slight fighting, that all the things that come from without are not necessarily good things. And in fact, half the time they work against progress. And it's the people within the countries that have to fight to get that balance right. You said about people keeping an eye on their governments. And I think we keep an eye on our governments because neocolonialism is not dead. It is rife within most countries. And therefore, if the people don't keep an eye and and don't find revolution as a touchstone of progress by coming out and complaining about what they see as wrong. Change doesn't occur, or it occurs in a way that goes too far to be easily corrected and ends up as revolution. Is what I think I'm getting from this passage. I think that that the opposing tendencies are always there, but they're not necessarily always as strong as when things start veering away from the people in the countries. So I think that revolution comes from, yes, it comes from within, but the people people fight for progress because they see that it's against their they see that what is happening is against their interests, and if they don't speak out loudly enough, they will just be constantly undermined by the wrong side, the wrong sort of change than what they want. Does that make sense?
A lot of sense. Do you want to add more? Because it looks like you're on fire, sister.
No, it just made me rethink of what this paragraph is really saying to us, because there is so much strife going on. There's so much strife, and half the time it's not that people want a revolution as such, but they're just so fed up of what they're hearing. And I mean, for instance, yesterday in this country, Britain, the UK, everywhere was meant to be on fire, and it was meant to be on fire against the people who they felt were this or were that, but mainly it was about a color issue. And after a day of people sort of trying to build up this fire, today it's turned around, and you've seen the things that people haven't been prepared to let people get away with the rubbish that they're talking, and they've come out in great numbers. But we didn't know that yesterday. It was happening, it happened, and it's only today we're finding out the numbers that came out. So I think that revolution is something that happens within most countries because they are, they're so angry about injustices that they see. And
would you say
mm-hmm.
I'm asking this question because sometimes when we hear the word revolution, we look at it in negative terms. I'm not saying you are, but we see revolution as fighting against something as opposed to fighting for something.
I think people use the word because when they see people coming out in great numbers, it can lead to great change. So I think that's why people use the word revolution.
Yeah, but my question is,
usually it's...
Yeah, so my question is, so when people come out in great numbers,
mm-hmm.
I mean, first of all, from what you're saying, strife is really good then. Strife is good. And
well,
strife,
it can stop people from, it can stop people in their tracks when they're doing wrong. I mean, like, for instance, yes. What has happened in the Sahel countries changed a lot of people's outlooks. And even people who weren't in the country were going out to say, hey, you lot, get out of there. You've really been behaving so badly. And we see it, we're not going to pretend that this is just you and that country. So I think that change comes when people start standing up. And I think that's what this is telling us, that things can go on for a long time. But
so what you're saying takes us back to something we read earlier, which Brother Pigeon mentioned, which is that revolution is not always against something, it's also for something. So those are the two aspects of a revolution. That is not, yes, that is both negative and positive. Negative in the sense that it's against something, positive in the sense that it is for something. And that's the question we have been asking, and I have been asking that. Brother Pigeon, I've been asking him, in terms of the Gen Zs in Kenya, they've told Ruto what they want, but that is what they want Ruto to do. But what do they want as an alternative government? Not what Ruto will do on their behalf, but if they were in office, what will they do as an alternative? And that is what is missing in the Gen Z, if you like, strife against the Ruto class. If what I'm saying makes sense.
Brother Bobby, can somebody say, just briefly, sister, please, if you allow me, that then bring us to two aspects of being a reformist or being a revolutionary also. Tie it in that.
Precisely.
I'm to tie it in. Well, I hate to say.
Don't hate, please. Speak your mind. Feel free.
Well, no, I hate to say that though I may come out in this country to support the Kenyans, at the end of the day, that support is telling them that they should carry on with their dance, or their trying to balance what they see as wrong in the country. So I cannot dictate to them. I can just say, I hear you. Is that not what we were meant to say earlier? I hear you, and I see what you are suffering, and therefore I too am supporting you from afar. But I don't think that anyone outside Kenya, we can support them. We can support the Sahel countries, but we're not there to fight. We are not in that country to fight the battles that they face. We can only support them from outside, whether it was apartheid in South Africa, whatever it is, all the revolutions that have gone on, people have supported from afar, saying, "Oh, we hear you, and you know it's your right to speak out against a government you see as being unjust." So I think growth and creation, both in nature and in society, is, you know, if you don't speak out, then you see unnatural things happening, and it leads to people being suffocated, their voice being suffocated. So I see Sister Tapa's hand up. So thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ida. So support, Sister Ida, is also a form of strife. It's at a distance, but it's still part of the strife. So your support, however minor, is just as important as those on the ground. So thank you very much. Let's hear a man's voice now. Brother Sam. Sister Po, I'll come to you later. Brother Sam.
Evening.
Evening, sir.
Brothers and sisters, I just have a short input, because I have listened. If I take the issue of the Gen Zs in Kenya, and maybe we should be aware that even if there's strife, even if there's what we call a revolution in a society, it will only be a true revolution if there is leadership. And this is where these things are critical. What you said now, that liberalism is what caused what is happening in Kenya, because the revolution gains were left unguarded. So there must be a revolutionary leadership. There must be a program that is followed. There must be objectives at every stage of that revolution. that people can associate with the progress that that society is making. And this has been the case, the struggle between saying, is this a revolution or is just a spontaneous eruption that is happening? We need to know that if society, the contradictions of the opposite are getting higher and higher, there will be that eruption. But if that eruption is not guided by a competent leadership, the gains of the revolution also falls apart. So for me, the passage we read today is simply defining clearly that these opposite strifes that are happening are not only out there in the universe, but even in society. We should know that there should continuously be this strife in order for progress to be made. But the issue that I'm bringing on the table is that no revolution can go unabated or continuously. If it's not guided, it might end up as not even a revolution, but a counter-revolution. Things developing in the negative direction. But just for my last input, just to try and illustrate, you know, at the prime years of now EFF leader Julius Malema, when he was the youth lead of the ANC, he had a quote that says his blood is green, gold, and black, and he will die in the ANC. But we now know that he left the ANC, he has not died, he even formed his own party. President Zuma, at the prime of his leadership of the ANC and the country, he was saying he will die in the ANC, and the ANC will rule the country until Jesus Christ come again. All those things, because of this, what Heraclitus is teaching us, that society is always in a constant strife, have changed the situation that President Zuma and now leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, have said. This is confirmation that there's nothing that is permanent. Things are in constant change. Thanks.
So Brother Sam, thank you for your contribution, because you raised another important question, which we'll come to when we get to chapter 3 on society and ideology. Because remember, in this chapter, we are looking at philosophy and ideology. And that question is that if society is in continuous strife, does that mean that nothing is permanent? Is there something that is always permanent, despite the strife? I asked Sister Tapua a similar question. There must be something that is permanent, or should there not be something that is permanent? What do we think?
Change.
Yes, but it cannot be changed, can it? Change itself is changing. Yeah. Yeah. So let's hear from Sister Shireen is ready. So let's hear from Sister Shireen.
Okay. In answer to your question, the only permanent things that I deem in a society that is constantly going through change is legislation, policies, and agreements. Would that be correct?
Yes. So you are, in other words, you are saying that if something is not subject to change, it must be something that we are capturing in a document called legislation or law or policy. That's what you're saying. So there is something within nature that we capture, and that thing that we are trying to capture in on paper, however we express it, whether it is Julius Malema expressing the way he did, or the former president of South Africa also saying the way he did, that thing, it is that thing that is not subject to change.
And is a constant reference to what was agreed and said before, because even when we get off of this call today, for example, we may get news from wherever it is in the world, there's that there is something quite turbulent, or what somewhere even that we might not even deem to be a threat, that there is an insurrection or there is something happening and stuff. So there is always change happening every second of every minute of every hour of every day. And without harmony, even, should I say, even with harmony, there will always be some sort of unrest, because we are not all the same. We do not all experience the same things. We do not always calculate things the same way in terms of where we are, like mentally and physically, spiritually, even metaphysically. Even though we are all the same, we all receive different information. We intercept.
Are we the same, Sister Shireen? Are we the same?
I'm
not saying we are not. I'm just asking.
I'm referring to something.
If we are on opposite sides of the same thing, we are all on opposite sides of something. Can we be the same? Could it be that we are actually the same?
When I'm saying the same,
different categories of the same thing.
Well, I'm talking in terms of potential matter, and it's because I referred to something that was in the group that I quickly read over today.
Yes. So in other words, you're a monist. Monism, which is that all things are ultimately the same. Go on. Thank you.
Yeah. So in regards to the I'm only just sharing my thoughts here. But in regards to the text, I think the contributions of those who came before me were spot on and interesting. I'm sure a lot of us have been involved in campaigns where everybody started on the same side for the same goal. And sometimes we don't even understand the end goal, which is what the brother before me said. It's like we all have an idea of what we want, but in terms of it being a whole idea that's agreed upon and that is cemented and adopted by all in a consistent and loyal way, people change. People are influenced by external factors or external offers, and within that, sometimes some people, are even within a group, are targeted by external powers or external attracts that will lure them into making deals that will benefit them alone and not the collective. So there's always a risk within change that the end goal will not be what everybody has envisaged it to be, even though in some cases it's written, and in other cases it is unwritten. I hope I'm making sense here.
You always make sense.
Thank you. But with that as well, we have to be very careful that when there is an how can I put it, like reparations. Speaking to some people about reparations, I have a strong understanding of what reparations is all about, and that's a kind of a global understanding of the repair that is needed. Some people have an ideology where don't give them the money, don't give them money, build, or set up systems, institutions, or set up places where the repair can, like counseling or this or that or the other. And then some people might just plainly say, well, why not just give people the money? And then you have other people saying, oh, well, if you give the money, people just spend it on nonsense. How do you know that they will spend it on nonsense? How do we know unless there's a collective understanding of what potential wealth, because it will be wealth, and how it's managed and how it's spent. Why is there always a negative when it comes to our people and reparations, and us not being able to determine our own fate or our own destiny in regards to this current system of fiat wealth, for example. So what I'm trying to say is that even in environments where you have a syllabus and everybody's following the syllabus, and you have meditation, and you have all of the tools that are needed for the people to progress together, there will always be those who do not agree with the way it's being led, if it's being led by one person, if it's being led by a collective set of people. You'll have some people sitting at the same table, they hate each other, but they're able to still make collective decisions and prosper. And then you'll get others who just cannot conversate around a table, cannot conversate with their family, cannot conversate with friends to make plans, etc., etc. So if I'm referring back to the text, if I may, Brother Kwame, sorry, I just need to get it back on the screen.
But is it not on the screen?
I can see Ubuntu. I can see Ubuntu. Oh,
Can
sorry.
you see it?
Yeah, I can see it now. I think with strife, it might feel as a strangulation, a suffocation. There might be death, there might be loss. There will be death, there will be loss, there will be plight, there will be starvation, there will be the lessons, but then the universe will balance that so that there is growth of some form, even though it could be spiritual growth, it could be philosophical growth, it could be growth of power, it could be a lot of things that may not be monetary, but it's how we define what growth is. Some people might, and I use the word be materialistic and say growth for me is having a car and having a home and buying land and whatever. Whereas to some people, growing crops, feeding a nation, making sure that the collective is taken care of, or there is progress within the collective, as opposed to individual growth, that to some people can be growth as well. So even though the land was barren, now we can farm, now we can grow, and everybody can eat. Or you'll have the person who will only want to plant their own seeds for themselves. And there's just so many different ingredients in different pots. So as I say, that's my contribution.
Thank you so much.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you notice I leave room for people to just grow and share, and that's how it is through this sharing of thinking that we also grow and develop. So thank you very much for that. So let's go to a man now. So brother Glenroy, please. Thank you.
It's very late in the process to be introducing a new concept, because I'm not sure I subscribe entirely to the idea that growth won't occur without strife. I think
Sorry, will or will not?
Sorry, say again?
Did you say will or will not? I didn't quite get that. You say you don't subscribe to the idea. Yes.
That it always requires strife for society to move forward. I think there are times when society changed through other processes, that simply discovering that one thing is wrong and try to correct it. So it's by saying, and I don't know if evolution is the correct word, but it is included in the text. But it does say evolution by revolution. I believe in revolution. I believe there are times that there is a need for revolutionary change, but I don't believe it's the ideal or the norm. that it's always there. I think people strive for comfort or a situation where society is is getting on, for want of a better word. There isn't much examples of it around, and therefore the should I say, the impact of revolution is with us. But I don't think that's the norm, and I don't think it's the preferred human aspect. When it happens, and as it is doing around the globe, then we have to deal with it. But to say that that's required for us to have any growth, I'm not sure I subscribe to that. I would like to think there is a better way.
Okay.
There is a way in which we could get along. There is a way in which we could work together to improve society. However, I don't have any examples of that. I just simply believe that if we can find a way in which we help each other rather than see revolution as the only solution, and I've used the phrase enough time, that revolution is the only solution, but I don't think it's the ideal. But as I said, it's late in the day for me to be throwing this into the pot. Nothing I've heard subscribe to that position, but I'm putting that on the table just for I think where I am. Perhaps old age. I'm looking for an
It's
existence
fine.
that is complementary to human existence, human beings' quality of life, so to speak, and that all human beings should have that.
Okay, so can I ask a question? So
Sure.
so do you think what you're saying goes to the heart of what we say when we say a reformist reform? Because there are two aspects of policy. You've got reformist policy and revolutionary policy.
No, not by any means. Not by any means. What I'm saying is, where we find, if we ever find society that works, if we ever find a situation that works, we should embrace it. I'm saying also that there isn't any example that I can put on the table that says this is the way forward and this is the reform alternative. But what I do strive for, and I think human beings strive for, is that process that works. Where it is, where does it work? I'm not able to say. But the idea that strife is a contributor to growth, or maybe is the only contributor to growth. I don't know if I subscribe to. Well, in fact, I know I don't subscribe to that.
What
there are other means by growth.
So what is your understanding of strife in this context?
Well,
When we
strife
say
is what it is.
how do you understand it?
There isn't well, strife is conflict. There isn't a softer version of it. It's not a case of sharing ideals and ideas. Strife, there could be exchange. There could be point of view. Other terms could be used. The term strife here is used specifically because it's believed, and I think most people who have spoke so far believe that it is a revolutionary process or a change that requires different points of view to be challenged or to be selected as the one that society should follow. That's my interpretation of strife. So it's not just, I think, of a substitute of an alternative word. I think that stands as it is. And I'm say again, I'm not saying that necessarily there isn't time for strife. I'm old enough to know and have engaged in enough strife and the necessity of strife, but I'm not sure if I considered it the ideal or the human preference. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, I understand. So the question is, and as you know, we are all sharing our thinking here. So do you not think that even when people are on the same side, there can still be strife within them?
Yes, but not necessarily the best form to move the process forward. There are times that you could oppose somebody in a way that isn't strife. there are other ways by which, and I'm not here, I can't immediately throw out an alternative view, but I say that it is possible that society can be constructed in a way that where strife exists, there is a mechanism for resolving those strife, rather than say, well, this is the basis or this is the benefit of moving forward, or this is as a result of evolution. I'm saying it's not necessarily the right way or the best way.
Yeah. So brother Glenn, what I'm getting at is it is your conception of strife that is the issue now for me, because you appear to be saying that when we say strife, it has, correct me if I'm wrong, you are seeing strife as having negative connotations.
Not negative, conflict, opposition to a degree of.
You think conflict means what? That when there is conflict, that it is not good?
Not always. There are times that obviously conflict can give people a clarity about another person's view. But if we see it, what I'm getting from this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the chapter is saying this is the way forward. This is the way society evolved, by strife, by conflict. And what I'm saying is there must be a better way. Other than that, conflict can be dangerous. Conflict can be very harmful. Strife can be harmful. So surely somebody somewhere must be saying, well, hang on a minute. Difference of opinion is one thing. Strife, and I appreciate strife doesn't always lead to the AK-47, but strife tend to suggest something harmful, something not dynamic. I think of another word, but I can't think of what it is.
Brother, that is the point. So I think that you are investing the word strife here with something that is harmful, something that is undesirable, but not necessarily. If the word strife or conflict does not, we need not invest it with that which is harmful or undesirable. Even amongst people who agree, having conflict, having a disagreement, having different points of view, that doesn't necessarily lead to fighting and so on.
My very point is your last two examples, difference of opinion, disagreement. Those are not strife. Those are what they are, what you said.
But hold on, but that is a point here. You see, having a disagreement is a form of strife. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, it is the way you are investing, the way you are seeing the word strife or conflict. So the atom has strife within it. It's got the electron, which is negatively charged. It's got the proton, which is positively charged. Now, there is strife in there.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a biochemical. So if you're going to try and take me down that road, let's stick to the human element. And I think those are very different concepts. Strife, conflict, difference of opinion, etc. They are different concepts, in my opinion. But I'm not stuck. Don't get me wrong.
It's fine.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but don't get me wrong. I'm not stuck on strife. I believe strife is not sometimes necessary. Yeah, let's be very clear about that. I believe that revolutionary activity are sometimes very necessary. What I'm putting on the table is this the human ideal? Is it something that everyone wants? Strife. And I'm saying no. I might be the only one saying it, but I am saying it. I'm putting it on the table.
Yeah, no, it's fine. What I am saying is that it is the way you are conceiving of strife that for me is the issue here, because even right now you and I are having strife. Our sharing of ideas is a form of strife. It doesn't mean we are engaged in any negativity, but this sharing of opposite ideas, the moment they are opposite ideas, it is called strife. For a want of a better word in the English language, for the want of a better word, conflict, strife, opposites. But the fundamental thing is that in nature itself, there is strife in that sense. So you can't have children without strife. All children, as an example, are the outcome of a strife between a mother and a father. For a child to be born, there has to be strife. However you want to conceive of strife. So then in accounting, you got debit and credit. So any company will only or can has to, if you like, produce a profit and loss account and then ultimately a balance sheet. That balance sheet, or what you might call attunement, to use another word here, requires for the company to both spend and make revenue. Now, that spending of money and the making of money is also, in this sense, a form of strife. So what this paragraph is suggesting, it's not that society must be in a state where everything is always negative, but it's saying that is the nature of the reality of the universe of which we are a part. I mean, I understand you if you are saying that you do not share, because this is a viewpoint, by the way. It's the position, it's the materialist position. The idealist position does not accept that strife, in quote unquote, is the fundamental, if you like, basis of our universe. In other words, matter is not negative and positive. Matter is fundamentally just one. So yeah. So I am engaging with your thinking here.
Okay, Brother Kwame.
Yes.
But permit me to maybe just bring it a bit that the strife is on attaining the balance. Because what I'm getting here is that growth and creation is nothing but an attunement or balance which emerge from strife. So how do you balance dialectical things that are opposite?
Yeah, but you see, it is not to imply that if you say that, it means that every nanosecond of the day, strife in society is happening. You can have things can still be in strife, but for 4 years in the decade, one party is in office and runs the country and nobody says anything. They do what they like for 4 years until the election comes again, and then there is strife for who should run the country. So it should not be. We should not read into this to say that there is, when we say permanent strife, it is not to say that there isn't duration. Strife that there is no duration. Yeah, that there isn't a period of time. You might call it a minute, a year, a decade, 100 years, if you like, or even a millennium where there isn't some kind of peace. It's not saying that. That's not what it's saying. It's just saying that however that may be, even when you see things are serene, they are quiet, they there is peace. Even underneath it, there is still strife going on. If you take England, for instance, as an example right now, when Labour won the election, it was assumed that there would be peace. But then look at what has happened. Suddenly, the far right has exploded. Why? Why have they exploded? Why is it that they're coming into office of the Labour Party, which was the result of a general election, why hasn't it brought peace? And everybody, well, maybe because they only got 34% of the vote, which means that about 66% of the British people do not agree with the Labour Party, but somehow because of the structure of the way election happens, they got the majority of the votes. So that's where the problem lies. So there is still a voice that was not given room to express itself because of the nature of the structure of parliament. And that voice is what is trying to make itself heard through the riots. Yeah, so I'm just saying, so that can be interpreted that way. So so to say that there is strife is not to say that there is permanent see, English is English language. It doesn't mean there is permanent killing of people. People are dying, people are being killed, people are, that's not what he's saying. That is not what this means. Yeah, although according to the paragraph, Heraclitus got his idea from what was happening around him. That Heraclitus conceived society as a dynamism in which out of strife, the strife of opposites, there emerges an attunement. Yeah. So if you use the piano again as an example, the white key and the black key are always in strife, but they're always producing good music. So I'm saying that we should not see strife. Yeah, it's the English language. We should not see strife here or conflict as something that is always negative. Yeah. Right. So, who hasn't spoken? Sister Chizomo hasn't spoken. Sister Grace. So we've heard from Brother Glenroy. So let's hear from Sister Grace. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
All right. I can just say I agree with the statement that without the opposing tendencies, there is no laws, and that evolution by revolution. And I think that's what we're seeing at the moment. That some things are starting, whether it's in Kenya, Malawi, or UK, or United States. That when things are happening and we're calling it a revolution, and then like the other speaker said, what's the end goal? So these things will start and boil over, but which direction are they heading? And because the direction is not very clear, that's when the splits begin by the same people who were united from the beginning, and then they start splitting into whatever one might want to call strife or another revolution over the other previous revolution. So those divisions will then cause another conflict between what was seemed to be the same group of people fighting for or against something. Then the divisions begin. I can give an example again of the political party of the vice president that died. So the candles began, and it looked like everybody.
You're using the example of Malawi, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, carry on.
So what seemed to be a united force, because there were restrictions as to how these people respond to this. So people took the candle lighting business. So, but where was this candlelight heading? And between themselves, they started splitting. And then it's now divided into 3 different groups of the same party. And people are saying, oh, the party has now split into 3. The candlelight party, the new vice president's party, and what's the other one? I can't remember the third one. So, and the conflict is building up to the extent that the party is now literally divided. So the end goals have now changed, which is now the evolution bit. It's now changing again. And where are all these three heading? And then it's affecting the government as well. Where is it all heading? So people like Ruto will play into these kind of developments that they can see that where are they going to take all these riots, demonstrations? Where is it leading? What do they, like what you said, what do they really want? Ruto can be dictated as to what he can do, but what's the end goal and what will these Gen Zs do after that? Like you were saying, the revolution stops, but you can't go to sleep. You have to keep continuing. So let's say if Ruto complies to what they're doing, and then what? So it's revolution is, we are in permanent revolution. That's all I can say.
All right, thank you.
Things are always emerging. Like we've seen in the UK, the prime minister comes in, people assume it's going to be peaceful. Democrats come in, people think it's going to be, it triggers other things. Once other things have triggered, those groups are fighting for or against, and it continues like that. Whatever this child who killed these kids at the play group, because I believe that's how it all started in the UK, I don't know. Because I live in Scotland, so you don't hear much of what's going on out there. So whether what was in this child's mind that then triggered all these riots, and then it's changed into something completely different now. The right wing has taken over, and interpretations are coming out of it. So it keeps changing, goalposts.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sister Grace. The last participant who hasn't spoken, let's hear him, and then we can bring the meeting to a close. And that is General Raspala. Thank you, Sister Grace, for your insightful contribution. And also thank you, Brother Glenroy, for drawing our attention to something very important, which is as part of that evolution or revolution. Thank you. Yes, General, you have the last word, or the last contributor before we close. Thank you.
Yes, give thanks for all the blessed. No, I give thanks even for the family, for everything I've heard so far. Very uplifting, blessed. Yeah, me too, I agree with this white man who wrote this thing, because we know them, they learn everything here in Egypt. So all their theories are based on our Egyptian theory. So even this thing of evolution by revolution is true, because I'll make one example before I close because of the time. Even our ancient ancestors, when they created the pyramids there in Egypt, they didn't create those pyramids in Egypt for tourist attractions or whatnot. They created those pyramids because they were energy fields, and they were also sky beacons for the big spaceships of our African ancestors when they landed on Earth and when they left the space. But today, when you look at the pyramids, it's like they are just monuments to look at and take the ancient bodies of our ancestors and call them mummies and whatsoever. You see, so it's a revolution that is pushing an evolution that will go to the fact that at the end of the day, African people will come to realize that, oh, all these things were done by us and etc. And that will lead to a new evolution. So from my point of view is that this thing, for me, it reminds me of our African history in general, whereby our ancient history, which people are not normally talking about, is like the past and the present life that we are living. Some people believe that it's the first time we have cell phones, but when we find out 20,000 years ago, our African ancestors had already created cell phones. So it's a very complex thing, but it goes in line with this theory of this man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, General. We're hoping you will present to us one Saturday.
Uh-huh.
So,
Can I say
thank you
something?
very much, everyone. We've come to the end of the day, but as you know, we can't go without hearing from Sister Tafua, who has something to say there.
Yes, I think what I've learned from this is just my experience in the group is that we need to temper our support when you have the things going on in the streets and everything else. You need to be cautious of the direction in which whatever is happening is going to take place. So joining in the streets without actually being aware or making an effort to determine the direction in which the events are leading is futile. I've learned from living amongst the British that they've become experts at hijacking ideas. So in other words, the fact that they want the opposition to be open is not necessarily to be inclusive, but there's always this strife between one side and the other. So I'll give you an example of how towards the end of slave trade, the slaves were revolting. The powers that be knew that very soon they wouldn't be the same position that they were in. They then decided to hijack the idea and say, we freed people. The same thing happened with independence of the African states, from colonial rule. Once they saw that they didn't have control, they then started saying, we'll give you independence. And they were determining the direction in which. So what we see, for example, with the Kenyan situation is the government has seen that things are about to change. And they want to determine the type of change. So as we are working towards getting Africa united, we need to be aware that once people get to know that this is what's going to happen, someone will come and try to hijack. So I think we need to be careful about phrases such as, they cannot leave us to be what we want to be. Because what we have learned today is it's not possible for us to be left to be who we want to be, because we cannot determine our own destiny just like that. There are people, there are opposing forces. So whatever it is we're planning, the groups that we're in, we need to be aware that someone somewhere is working to hijack that idea for their purposes. Thank you.
The word hijack, is that a correct word? I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying the word hijack. I mean, if you put an idea on the table and I put an opposite idea to oppose your idea, am I hijacking yours, or am I just making my idea? It's a discussion, and I'm putting mine on the table. Why should it be that I'm hijacking yours, or vice versa?
Right. What I'm looking at is a situation where the one side sees the direction in which the other is taking an argument, and they can see that people are buying into it.
Yes.
And because they see that people are buying into it, they then take that very idea, but take it in a different direction, so that if you are not always watching the direction in which your ideas are going, someone could come and say, we're Pan-Africanists.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, Sister Poa, I think you are bringing up a very interesting point that goes to the heart of what some people call accountability, probity, and so on. So let's hold our thoughts at this point because of time. And let's continue next week, because we are still in the same part of the well, we are still in the same chapter. Because what you were saying and what Brother Glenroy said earlier are actually links. They actually linked, and so what Brother Glenroy was doing was bringing our attention to something very important. That even when we talk about evolution by revolution, it doesn't always mean permanent strife or permanent negativity. And so the idea of if you like, hijacking, not hijacking, we trying to influence you being yourself, all that come into play. So no, thank you very much, all of you, all of us. Let's remember that we are, in a way, the philosophical vanguard, of the progressive revolution, because we are those who are discussing progressive philosophy and ideology amongst ourselves as Africans. So we are contributing immensely to ideological clarity and direction. So thank you all very much for coming. Yeah, that is it for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. I noticed Brother Joseph and Sister Pamela were not able to join us. So whoever is in touch with them, please reach out to them, see whether they are okay, say hello to them on our behalf. And that's it. Thank you all very much. I'm going to stop the recording now if I can find it. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you all.